Mr. Ivan Hudson, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Ivan, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I want to know this before we get into anything too serious.
Okay.
What's something that has an unexpected amount of options that you never really think about?
Something that has a lot of unexpected options that you don't really think about.
Yeah.
Well, maybe breakfast.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Ivan, I'm gonna go with olives. I don't know if you ever thought about this the last time you're at the grocery store, but you can buy olives in small, medium, large, and extra large, and it's something we grow and we decide how big it's going to be. I have no idea why I've never thought about olives being something that I needed that many choices for. I don't know if you like olives. I mean, they're pretty comfortable.
They've grown on me. I kind of like them on pizza these days, but raw and the raw, no, I can't do the olives.
All right. I want to move this over to the world of insurance, and I think the interesting thing there is there's always a ton of choices and options in the world of insurance, and sometimes people don't necessarily even realize what's available. What conversations have you had in those unexpected options conversations with your clients, and talking about the things that they might not even think to consider or even realize something that should be important? Like where do you sort of maybe put the focus on some of those things?
Yeah. So, in the decade I've been in the industry, all on the agency side, I've noticed that folks usually kind of shop, if you will, around, three areas: price, which, try not to lead with that, because if you gain a customer on price, you usually lose a customer on price. Um, Convenience. Convenience is another component, and convenience means different things to different people. I believe pre-COVID, location was a huge factor that some people still would consider. How close in proximity is an agency to my home, or in my route to the office. But we know now that with our virtual environment that we live in, that location isn't just that primal factor, but it could mean I have options in how I pay. So convenience means different things to different people, and then obviously product is kind of what I like to lead with, and like to really connect with clients around, because there are so many options, whether it's options for different carriers and product lines, but each customer, has a unique risk profile. As much as we have options to offer on this side, it's still very much a consumer driven marketplace. We want to let our customers know that they have options to purchase their insurance that align with their specific needs at the moment, at the time of their purchase, which also means that it can change based on life events in the future.
Have you found any sort of special way to approach any one of those things? Is there something that you like to sort of attack? What again with the options and coverage being abundant and overwhelming at times? Is there a way that you maybe simplify that for people to help really understand it?
Well, I think it comes with setting expectations up front. Even when data is king, right? Content is king. And so, we try to collect as many significant data points up front. Although we can't peel back the veil of that carrier algorithm, we know some of those major factors that they're looking for. Even folks that have the means, have a little bit more disposable income. Nobody wants to pay more for insurance than they have to. Before we go dive right into getting dates of birth and a lot of personal identifying information, we like to tell our customers why we're asking. And so a lot of times that allows us to do our job a little bit more, which is find the best overall quote. It's not the cheapest, but the best overall quote for the customer when they're at ease and more forthcoming about giving us the information that we need to quote, the number of folks in the household, things like that sometimes just gets concealed because the consumers don't really know why someone's asking questions that in their world doesn't pertain to the quote.
Was there a sort of a moment before you sort of maybe stepped out on your own, like that you thought that process needed more attention? Like how did you get to the point where you said like I need to do this myself and
Yeah,
make this a
so
little bit better?
so I got my start on the captive channel. Even though those kind of three factors, of why people shop still existed, I was very limited in the product offering aspect because I just had the one particular carrier. They had a few other companies as a part of their exchange, but outside of that purview, I was not able to educate the customer on, hey, these are some trends that we're seeing in the marketplace as it relates to rate, as it relates to product. I was able to just talk about the company's history, how long they've been around. Oh, by the way, we're asking more folks to retain a little bit more risk in the form of a higher deductible. That has a big impact on retention as well, because when you find yourself in a hard market like we're in right now, you can't unequivocally say that you're doing the best thing for your customer when you just have one carrier that you're representing. And so I don't believe transitioning to the IA channel is the silver bullet for everyone. But it's definitely been transformational for my agency.
Where is your focus now? Like, what are the things that you're thinking about now for the agency? Because you probably, every new day it's like, oh man, what can I do? What can I do? I would imagine there's a list of things, but I'll take whatever, handful of ones come to the top.
Since I am absolutely, independent, I'm not a part of, any type of groups or clusters or anything like that. Meaning I don't have to ask for permission or, take action independently and then maybe ask for forgiveness later. You think about, start with the end in mind. Again, I've been in the industry for a decade. I foresee being part of the industry for the duration of my remainder of my career. And I do know that just having the opportunity to be on the IA channel, I've been able to just kind of peek over the fence just to see some other distribution channels, how other agencies are run, the broker side, the big brokers and things of that nature. So it does keep the wheels turning about what an exit could look like. Even though I don't plan on exiting anytime soon, I do know that my options are increased for an exit, whether it's from a legacy standpoint. I do have a daughter. She's got a little while to go, but assuming that my agency is at a position, for some type of legacy transition, I want to work on the valuation and maximize the valuation if I want to exit in the open market. There's opportunities to get on the M&A side of things as well. Right now we're growing we're growing by policy, but we know that the industry is aging. Agency owners are aging out. They're looking for options. And as I continue to, pull levers within my agency and work on systems and workflows and things like that, I can foresee in the next, 36 to 60 months where, we're in position to do, our first acquisition possibly. And so we're not just organically growing by policies, but we can even, leverage, other smaller agencies.
Yeah, and kind of thinking about like your entire journey to sort of get to this point. If you had to maybe give, I don't want to say a word of encouragement, but your best piece of advice to somebody that is maybe where you were at that captive, thinking, "Boy, am I ever going to be able to do this?" Like, what is it that you can say, having made it to the other side? Not that it's like an insurance prison, but maybe. What would you maybe say to them to say, listen, these are the practical steps to take to sort of get here?
Well, I mean, may not be prison, but definitely some shackles are involved there. I would just say, our industry is inherently wrought with risk. Okay, and every day that we wake up and we go after our respective businesses and clients and prospects, there's even risk involved with that. I believe the older we get, every day we wake up, we're a day older. We're talking life insurance, and we're a day closer to mortality, right? A lot of times, as we get older, we get settled in our ways. We maybe start a family. You have bills, and those risks that we were willing to take are, becoming, less and less. So we're becoming more adverse to those risks. But I just, would encourage anyone who knows, in their spirit that there's something out there better, to still, consider taking that risk, but more of a calculated risk. It's okay to, still, look at risk, but maybe more calculated. And so instead of what it looked like for me is, instead of me, making that leap immediately based on the emotion that I was feeling of prospects, me continuing turning prospects away for lack of option, for whatever the reason may be. I took that time to really dive into the reasons that folks were being turned away. What part of the town or the state that they lived in, that were, what zip codes were associated with that. And so when I began to interview carriers on the IA side, I could look and see which carrier would fill the void for the highest propensity of business that I was turning away. And so it really turned into like an incubator, if you will, or like almost like a science experiment to have that time period to know, in my head and in my heart that there was something different, but not, making that impulse decision, but really take the time to strategically make that transition so that when I restarted the business on the IA side, because I sold the captive book of business and literally started another scratch agency, that I could actually launch. You can, I believe you can start something or you can launch into something, and with the proper preparation, you can launch into the IA channel.
All right, Ivan, I've got 3 more questions for you, sir.
Okay.
And the first one is, what's one thing you hope you never forget?
One thing I hope I never forget is just, the basics, the mundane, if you will. Yes, we're very, very much in a technologically driven marketplace. There's a lot of levers we can pull to make things a little bit more efficient for us. But one thing about insurance and, the type of customers that I like to attract and retain over time requires it's still a hands-on contact sport, if you will. There's no technology that can replace meaningful connections, with customers. And so I just hope I never forget that, even with all the technology that's out there, we still need to pick up the phone. We still need to have conversations with folks many times, even uncomfortable conversations, but necessary conversations, as opposed to trying to communicate in other less disconnected ways, if you will.
Now, on the other side of that, what's one thing you still have yet to learn?
Well, I'm going to keep hitting home on this technology piece because I don't have it all figured out, and we create these workflows, and sometimes you get lost in trying to create everything, have everything communicating with each other and talking with each other. When you're dealing with technology, you can project and plan for some type of glitch or some type of breakdown that's going to require some type of troubleshooting, and that takes time away from the revenue generating activity as well. So I do hope that and I can't be all things to all people, even within the agency and producers and things like that. But I do really want to get our tech stack down really, really good, and be able to harness the power of technology, and maximize that.
All right, Ivan, last question to you, sir. If I were to hand you a magic wand of sorts to reshape, change, alter, speed up really any part of insurance, what's that thing? Where is it going? And what's it doing?
Wow, magic wand. So, I think the industry does an incredible job, or has done an incredible job, on educating consumers on kind of how insurance should work, if you will. We have, whatever, hobby you like, or whatever you like watching on television. When the commercial comes on, 9 times out of 10, there are going to be a series of insurance commercials. And, when you pull back the layers of, hilarious banter or whatever it might be, the jingles, things like that, there's usually some, at least one little takeaway from a consumer education standpoint. And so what that looks like now is when a customer calls for, personalized quotes, we have a practice to definitely want the bundle, but we usually don't have to ask for it because the consumer marketplace is much more educated than it was, even a decade ago, let alone 30, 40 years ago. And so at this moment right now, just beyond, teaching and educating consumers that they have options, or, how to, get ask for additional discounts. I think there's an incredible opportunity, since we do have such an educated consumer base, to really, kind of try to make insurance a little sexy, instead of, encouraging it for, if you have trouble sleeping at night, read your coverage, your insurance policy. So I just think if we could wave that magic wand and show the different verticals within the industry. For example, there's so much more to insurance than just, selling it. All the big carriers have campuses with marketing departments, IT departments, underwriting departments. I think if we wave that magic wand, we could attract more talent, even more diverse talent. And so I think there's a huge opportunity with intentionality there.
Ivan, this has been fantastic, sir. I'm going to leave it right there.
All right. Thank you.